the main thing I learned from my postdoc was how to manage projects. And that's critical probably in any sphere that you go, whether it be industry, academia, any job that you with project management skills are key.
Hello everyone. Today we have Angad Garg as a senior scientist from NanoMosaic. Welcome to our PhD talk show, Angad. This is Puspam. Nice to meet you.
Thank you. Nice to meet you. And nice to be here, Puspam.
Thank you. Thank you. So to begin with our discussion, I think here primarily we are focusing on your journey in academia and then your transition in the industry. So here I would first want to know like where you did your bachelor's and master's and what was the motivation for the PhD?
Yeah, awesome. So bachelor's and master's for me was back in Delhi University in India. I did my both my bachelor's and master's in biomedical science, and my motivations for PhD primarily were academic. Like I was interested in a particular topic, I wanted to learn more about it, and I heard research was the best in the US, and so I'd applied to a lot of schools in the US. Ultimately chose Stony Brook University as the place that I wanted to do my PhD in. And cell cycle was my topic. So I joined a lab that was specializing in cell cycle regulation.
Yeah, that's great to know. I think so. You mentioned that you wanted to do research on cell cycle. So was it very specific for you, or there were some other motivations for doing research on that?
No, we had a topic in the first year of my bachelor's, the cell cycle part. When I read that, I was pretty fascinated by it. And I also wanted to do genome-wide studies. So those were the two kind of things where I wanted to learn new methods and approaches that were genome-wide, but were applicable for cell cycle regulation. So though I wanted to kind of combine those two interests for my PhD.
Okay, that seems to be a very, a very motivational thing that you thought something in your BSc first year and actually you went ahead with that. That's great.
That's true. I was lucky. It was lucky. Yes. Yeah.
So regarding your PhD, I think when you joined Stony Brook as a graduate student, we learned so many things. So what was one of the things which you think was like something you learned a lot in your PhD?
I think trying to solve problems by yourself was one of the biggest things that I learned. Like, if you don't have any idea about how to do something, you're starting from scratch, just figuring out how to go about that process. I think that was really key in grad school. And the other thing was like you have to be relentless. So you just have to sometimes, push through some parts of the project where they're difficult. You just have to keep working through them, keep asking the experts how to do it. And at some point, you will figure out a way.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's good to know. So in this case, I think when you were doing PhD in Stony Brook, you were doing research on cell cycle, and then you went for the postdoc, right? So can you
Yes.
share a brief journey from PhD to postdoc?
Yeah, so PhD, as I said, like I wanted to do a lot of this whole genome stuff with cell cycle regulation, and this was mostly centered on genetics and cell biology. And so I wanted to now also kind of learn structural biology and biochemistry and kind of integrate it with my knowledge of cell biology and genetics, right? So that was my motivation to kind of transition into postdoc, was to get more insights into the structural biology aspects of things, the biochemistry aspects of things, how to work with purified proteins and develop assays and all that kind of stuff. So that was my motivation when I switched to postdoc. And again, lucky for me, I got a position which kind of was in a perfect spot for that.
Okay, so I want to briefly know, like when you say like you wanted to switch to structural biologists and you had motivation to learn something new, how do you think like when someone as a viewer is watching this video, how they should plan their PhD and what are the things they should think about?
I think that's a great question. That's a great question. I mean, generally, for me, I didn't plan it as much as I should have, maybe, but I was lucky enough to be in positions where I got the kind of roles that I did. But yes, when you're looking for a PhD, you have to, if you want to go the academic route, you should be planning well ahead in time what funding sources you need to apply to. You have to get some grants early on. It's success kind of begets success, right? So that's the kind of thing. And then what kind of a lab do you want to make? Like that's the kind of problems you want to be focusing on. You already are thinking about postdoc mentors. You already thinking about the big question items. And so you keep talking to professors when you're in grad school about how to go about this, like how to transition into academia. Or if you're interested in industry, then you have to keep talking to all these people who are already doing these kinds of things from a very early stage so that you can have a built up network by the time you're ready to actually go into it. I didn't actually end up doing that, but for me, I did it much later in the stage, but it would have been very beneficial if I did it early. So yes, I mean, these are some of the things that people should plan for. When you're thinking about problems of how to look at what kind of problems you want to solve, you want to take projects, at least in grad school, which can be completed, like a smaller scope of project, which can be completed. You get multiple publications, that's kind of the idea that you want to be looking at. And you gain a lot of problem solving skills in that point of time. When you go on to postdoc, you want to be thinking about more bigger picture items where if you want to go the academic route, you can develop a big idea and make it your own lab. Or if you want to go the industry route, then you want to think about what kind of stuff the industry wants. That's what the grad school informational interviews with industry folks helps, right? You want to know what's happening in the field, and then you choose a lab accordingly for postdoc. But postdoc is a really important stage, I think, for your future success in both industry and academia.
Yeah, I think to summarize this, I think we have to tailor ourselves to cater whether we want to go to industry or academia. And I think that's where we have to do a little bit of planning ahead. I think that's helpful, right? As a summary,
Yes.
I can take that.
Yes. I mean, generally, you're always talking to your younger self, right? That's always how it is. So when we give advice, it's always talking to our younger selves and hope that sometimes the message will stick.
No, I think our viewers will thoroughly enjoy this conversation, and especially when it's coming from you. So moving on, I think in your postdoc career, you have spent almost 7 years, if I'm right. So what are the things you think that you learned which helped you a lot in the industry also?
Yeah. Okay. So that's a great question again. I think in the postdoc period, I think in grad school I was mainly working independently, just because of the constraints of my mentor at the time. She wasn't as available, so I was primarily driving the project. But in postdoc, I mean, I was learning from the best of the best of how to manage projects. I think that's what the main skills I learned was project management, how to get tasks done in quick amount of time without spending much effort, right? And so I think that is what the main thing I learned from my postdoc was how to manage projects, and that's critical probably in any sphere that you go, whether it be industry, academia, any job that you project management skills are key. And I think one of the key things is, our viewers are Indian, so I'll say it. Kaal kare so aaj kare so ab. Pal mein parle hoegi, bahuri karega kab. So that is an evergreen truth. You need to complete your tasks as soon as they present to you. And if you keep doing that, you will be ahead of your schedule. You'll be ahead of all the things. And I think that is what it is with project management. Keep doing bite-sized amounts of things, but keep doing them, and you'll be able to complete tasks.
Okay, thank you. I think this brought up a very important question that, like in many times when we see industry jobs, it's important to have the subject knowledge, but also the soft skills. So does it mean that project management and some other skills are really important? And can you give us some insight about what are the key skills we should look at developing when we are in grad school, especially?
Right. I think in skills, for example, in industry, of course, you have certain jobs which demand a certain type of skill type, and either you fit with that job description or you don't. Right. So you keep applying till you actually hit upon a good job, which is a good fit with you. And during the interview process, they will also consider that, right? Whether you're a good fit for them also. So that's part of the parcel, right? But in any case, when you're doing your grad school for soft skill development, right? You want to be able to do a lot of public speaking, have that in your kitty. You want to be able to organize things, so help around with organization of, grad school activities and all that kind of stuff. Those things kind of build your network and also allow you to, have that confidence in when you're talking to people, and that's a big soft skill. Like when we're in industry, we're in meetings all the time. We're talking to customers, we're talking to other scientists. And if you're not confident in presenting your views, then nobody's actually paying attention to you, right? And I think that's important, to be able to have the confidence in presenting your expertise, right? So that kind of develops slowly and steadily over the course of your grad school. So that I think is one of the key things there. The other things that you want to plan in terms of skills is what kind of study interests you, because if it interests you, you will likely succeed in it. And so you want to pick a topic that is motivational for you. If it's something that's boring, you're likely not going to succeed. So carefully pick your topic. That's one of the other things.
That's a very crucial thing, I think, in this field, especially when we are doing science. Moving on, actually, so when you moved from academia to industry in NanoMosaic, how was the interview and application process? Because many of our viewers who are looking at companies, they would want to know like what happens especially in startup, what goes inside and what's the process like.
Yes. So actually, I mean, the whole application process was very interesting for me. It was new. And so it starts from you submitting your CV to job sites and stuff like that. And your CV is basically looked over by hiring managers, or there might be also a situation where it's pre-screened by artificial intelligence or software, which looks for keywords within your CV. And says, okay, you're a good match with the job description, and therefore these CVs will pass the metric. And so a lot of the CVs kind of get triaged in that manner. And so if you want to have your CV kind of go past that, you should have the important keywords that are from the job description be there in your CV, right? So for the bigger companies, they end up doing that. They do have these AI-based softwares which kind of triage your CVs. And I want to say that because I didn't actually make the cut. Like I didn't get any interviews from any of the bigger pharma companies, to be honest. So whether I got triaged at the artificial intelligence part or the hiring manager part, I don't know. But generally, my CV was looked more at by companies at startups, or I got calls from recruiters. And so you want to be framing your resume in a fashion which is immediately comprehensible as to what your core strengths are. That has to be in the first paragraph. You should have an outline where people want to read further, right? So in the first paragraph, bullet points of what's important, highlighting your soft skills, your technical skills, and why you're a good fit. I think those are key in the first paragraph, and it should really hit home that people kind of read it further. You also don't want to be talking about all that you have done. It should be only tailored specific to that particular company. And you highlighting the soft skills more in the CV is generally an advantage. People don't care what exactly you have done. They care about what broadly you have done and what was your achievement in numbers, right? Okay, you had 15 publications, right? That you had 15 publications in high impact. If you list all the 15 publications, it's likely not going to get read. But if you have 15 publications and you have a Google Scholar link over there, if they're interested in reading, they can go ahead and click the link. But you don't have to actually mention that, right? So tailoring it to the particular job, being concise. Shakespeare, brevity is the soul of wit. That is what you have to have in the CV as well. And so there are a lot of good links for how to make your CVs good for industry, and you should take a look at all those resources when you're applying, or at least before you're applying, and then have your CV kind of cross-checked with your colleagues and people in the industry. That is very important, having a back and forth with people in the industry. If they can give you advice on what you can change in your CV, that was critical for me. Like, I had to talk to a lot of my friends who are in industry, and they said, okay, your CV is too crowded. It's too long. It's too bad. It's not concise. It's your soft skills are hidden. I all got all these advice from people. And then I made my CV according to how it would be. And I started getting much more hits than before. So it's important to get that feedback.
Yeah, that's great to know. So I think you also brought one like a very interesting point in our conversation is mentorship, role of mentorship. How in earlier you had learned so much in mentorship, and also in the industry when you are applying, you are sending your CV to different people, sometimes they are friends and mentors. So how do you think you what was the role of mentors in your career journey?
I think you have to always identify mentors in your career journey. Without mentors, I don't think you will get anywhere. You need to have people you trust, and you trust their advice. And you need to formulate multiple mentors for different things, different mentors. Getting feedback is the most critical way for success. I think getting and adapting new habits is another one of those things, which once you get an advice from a mentor, you want to adapt that habit into your daily practices. That's another key thing for your success. So I think mentorship is critical in your success. I don't think it's without it you can't really succeed. So that is one. You hit the nail on the head, Pushpam.
Thank you. So I think one more thing we also want to know, like as a startup, like when someone is working in startup, how's the like week looks like or month looks like, especially week, not day, I think. Like is how busy is it, and what are the things we should be doing in a startup?
Right. So I think, with industry jobs, as far as my experience has been, it's still early stages, but it flows in kind of a sinusoidal curve. You get a lot of work in one go, and then it's like a lull for a little bit, and then another lot of work. So it ebbs and flows in that manner. I think that's true for most jobs in industry. But it could be, there's a particular demand for your particular space, and you really have to push forward with a particular goal, then all out on that, right? All out resources. But if that is not the current theme, or it's not the current, like it could be anything, some of the resources are limited, therefore you're kind of waiting for things or stuff like that. So you're in somewhat of a low effort area. And then once your things have arrived, then you want to be producing results faster than you're working hard. So that's how it goes. But in terms of like meetings, you're always trying to form, at least in a startup environment, we are always talking to customers. We're a technology company, so we're always trying to sell our technology and everything. And so we're always talking to customers, what they need, what would they like to do, how would it be advantageous if they used our technology, how do you think it differentiates? And so you always in these kinds of meetings. So those are also part and parcel of the day, right? And so both your work and your meetings and interfacing with different people, that's all part and parcel of the job.
Okay, yeah, that's great to know, and thanks for sharing that. Few more things we want to know is like, are you able to maintain any of the hobbies right now?
I am a father of two. Right now, my hobby is actually just raising my kids. But I hope once they're older, I can get back into tennis and playing some guitar, which I used to play. But as of now, after work is my home. So I do that.
That's good to know. Thank you so much, Angad, for sharing your journey with our viewers. This was great to have all the conversation and all the learnings.
Yes, that was my pleasure, Pushpam, and thank you for having me to talk to BioPatrika. And I hope it's of any use for our listeners that you have.
Yeah, it would be useful, surely.